Hey everybody, ArtzyDude here. What's going on? Welcome to the ArtzyDude channel once again in my art studio somewhere here in this great United States of America. Say hi to my buddy, Richard Dolan. Yeah, Richard Dolan. You should appreciate this place, Richard Dolan. It's the place where creativity is way more important than knowledge, but the acquisition of great knowledge like Richard Dolan's, it's an art form, and the two go hand in hand. You know, I wore a Richard Dolan mask once on a video I did. I don't know how well that went over, but I enjoyed doing it. Today, I'm going to take you over to the art table once again, over to the art board, the drawing board, and I'm going to sketch up a reptilian for you as I'm talking about reptilians. I never bought into that concept of reptilians. I think I've gotten into it a little bit deeper, a little bit more of an understanding as I've gotten older. So let's go over to the art table. We'll talk a little bit about that. As you know, I'm not the best freehand sketch artist there is out there. I do my best, so bear with me. This might be a little bit of a longer drawing, and I'll bang it out for you and we'll talk. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a preamble on what I was doing because it's hard to talk and draw at the same time. They're just hard to do. Both of them require a certain amount of articulation. And when you're drawing and talking, focusing on line work and focusing on vocabulary, one or the other is going to get screwed up, and it's usually the vocabulary that comes out either not in a timely manner or in a way that's not very understandable. So there you go. There you have it. Whatever I say from this point out on the drawing board, I can't help it, okay? All right, listen. Let's go over the drawing board. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, welcome. You made it to the artboard. Glad you could make it. Glad you could make it. So today I want to draw a little bit with regard to reptilians. I've always wondered about reptilians. You know, you hear about them and that they're intelligent and ruthless and I just wondered if that's the case. Are they as intelligent as, say, the mantis beings? You know, we always hear about these guys being totally ruthless and that they eat human babies and all of that. And at least that's some of the stories I've heard. And it makes you wonder, do they? I mean, do they actually do that? Are there actually these reptilian type of creatures, you know? I always wondered about that. I mean, I always found it a hard time, like out of all the different types of species and aliens that were out there that we've heard about, the greys and the mantis, the interdimensionals, all this different. I always had a hard time working out in my mind, you know, this thing with regard to the reptilians. I just had a hard time believing reptilian beings existed, you know? had a hard time with that. Just never could figure it out if it was true. And then I always wondered, like, between, say, reptilians and mantis, who's like, do they work together, or are they enemies? You know? Oops, sorry about that. I wondered about all that. I'm just trying to map out some scales here. Sometimes my work is very rough when I first start out, but once I get the shading, start mapping things out, it takes on a little bit better shape, you know. Can you imagine creatures? I mean, I think about meeting something like, now if you could meet, say, reptilians or mantis, like we said before, I've often thought about meeting somebody like a mantis or a reptilian, and if I wasn't eaten, if we could just meet on common ground, you know, would there be a common ground? But would they be just as scared of me as I would be apprehensive and scared of them? And what is it that scares us about each other, you know? I mean, what is it that scares us, you know? Why are we scared of each other? Are they're scared of us because, you know, because of our reputation as warriors? Are they scared of us because we freak out and fly off the handle? I mean, what is it about us that scares them? You know what I mean? I mean, certainly, like, if I could meet a mantis or a reptilian in the flesh, I know it sounds weird, but I would want to touch them. I'd want to. It would just be amazing to me to just like you would any creature, stingray, you know, an otter, whatever it is. You want to pet them. You want to kind of touch their skin, like like when you're in the oceans. And I know you guys are laughing out there right now, but when you're in the oceans and you're looking at, like, let's say a whale or a dolphin, you want to touch them. You want to feel their skin. You want to see what they're all about. So reptilians, you know, I wonder about their skin, their texture. You know, is it really like an alligator, and I mean, imagine a mantid. You know, imagine, like, the ability to touch a mantid. You know. That would be so weird, I think, you know? just, it's like I wouldn't even know where to begin. I don't know, maybe you'd know where to begin, but I certainly wouldn't. I think their chin's probably gonna be more, yeah, more down here, I think. Yeah, maybe something like that. So if mantids had to fight with these lizard creatures, who do you think would win? I mean, and what different technologies do they all have? You know, I always often wondered about that. Different technologies. You know? I know I talked about this before. Different propulsion systems and, you know, different histories. But maybe some of them are trading partners. Maybe they, you know, maybe they've been here for years and trading, and we don't even know it, you know? bit. I forgot that I can't really turn my page when I'm drawing here. So I'm used to having a little bit more of a ability to turn my page. And let's see if we can box some stuff in here now. We're trying to get, we're starting to get a little messy here. So let's see if we can clean this up again. Again, I always, my drawings are always kind of messy when I first start them out. And then I try to so these things are always kind of freaky when you think about them, these guys. Well, not quite turning out the way I wanted it to on this one, but I think you get the point. a reptilian. Weird, huh? I don't know. I tend to overwork things sometimes, but sometimes it works out. And again, when you're freehanding these things, they don't always work out the way you want to. Sometimes it's nice to have a reference of an alligator face or some sort of a reference around, so that you can look at them. I always seem to have these like long, thick necks. There was one story I remember. I can't remember who it was. One of the whistleblowers. He said he was digging a cavern or something out near Area 51, and he broke through. I'm not sure whether it was. He broke through a wall, and he ran into a whole den of these reptilians, if that's what you call them, a den. I mean, what do you call a gaggle of alligators? What do you say? A den of reptilians? I think it was a reptilian den. And he said that they stunk to high heavens. I remember that. Stunk to high heavens. Stunk to high heavens. Can you believe that? And it wouldn't surprise me if there are these things living below the earth, because even in the Bible, whether you believe the Bible or not, but they talk about, there's always these things like Jesus is saying, or, every knee shall bend both on the earth and under the earth, in the presence of God. Every knee shall bend both on the earth and under the earth. What does that mean? Both on the earth and under the earth. I mean, this is coming from, the Bible. So if you were to take it as such, and you bought into that, I mean, think about that. That's pretty intense. Every knee shall bend both on the earth and under the earth. Now, that's not to say that, again, you don't have to believe anything in the Bible, but if that were the truth, if there were truth in that statement only, both on the earth and under the earth, that means that there's creatures, sentient creatures living under the earth that would bow down to the Father, to the God, to the creator of all universe. I mean, that's kind of interesting when you think about it. That's kind of interesting. All the earth. These guys are going to be kind of dark. Just a little bit of white on that one, but this eye is going to be kind of in the dark. He's in the shadows, yeah. But yeah, to me that was a very telling thing. And I often think about that. What does that mean? What does that mean? But why wouldn't there be creatures under the earth? I mean, who's to say that there's not creatures here that have been here for millions of years? Maybe they broke off from us years and years and years ago, for millions of years, and they've lived below the earth, and maybe there's a sun, some sort of power source under the earth that, that comes from the center of the earth, and it provides light and food, or enough to survive, And who's to say that reptilians couldn't live down there, or some kind of creature, I mean, these movies come out, and the stories come from somewhere, right? I mean, they're made up from somewhere, So you got to wonder. I do, anyways. I always wonder that. I often wonder that. If we could go down to the center of the earth, what would we see? There's some Japanese anime that I've watched over the years too, where they go down to the center of the earth and they get there through a tide pool or something. They have to go under the water, and when they finally get down there, the people that are down there don't want them down there because it's a Shangri-La. It's a beautiful, 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 beautiful place, and they don't want the topsiders, the earthlings, to find out about it because they don't want them to come down there and spoil it. You know what I mean? They don't want it to be spoiled. And I can't say I blame them, because look at us earthlings. I mean, look at us. None of us cares. I mean, today, was it today or was it yesterday maybe? Somebody came out and threw some stuff on the sidewalk, trash. And I thought, again, that made me think of that. I mean, and I did a video about this a while back, on alien worlds. Let's just say whether it's the reptilian world or the mantis world or any super, super, super advanced civilized world, do you think they litter? Do you think they throw trash out on the street and they don't care about their world where they live? I mean, I find that hard to believe, that we would do that and they wouldn't. I don't know. I find that hard to believe. I don't know. I find it truly hard to believe that they would do that. I mean, after all, they are fairly advanced, The reptilian. Here we go, right? The reptilian. So now, I've got to put some little finishing touches on here. Now that's the reptilian. I got to put a couple of touches on here. Bear with me for 1 second. Got to grab my paintbrush. A little bit of paint. Should have had this ready, but I didn't. And that's the thing, when you're in the art studio, sometimes you got things ready, sometimes you don't. So now, I'm going to just put a few touches on here. Just a dab in the eye. A little bit up touch right there. Just a couple of touches right there with a brush. Now we're getting close. Oops, moving the screen around a little bit. You guys would laugh at my setup here if you saw it. So there we go. There we go. Now we're looking at the reptilian. Kind of messed up his head up here. He could have had a little bit more shape to his head up here at the top. But anyways, that's one idea of the reptilians. This is probably a long, boring video. But if you like this kind of thing, you know, I was watching some sort of Matchbox car aficionados putting together and refurbishing old Matchboxes. And you know, and another channel where they were refurbishing old tools. And there was something about it. Look at me, I'm spilling ink everywhere. There was something about that was refreshing. You know, it was just it was beautifully refreshing, you know. And I enjoyed that. Looks like my pen's leaking here somehow. Well, anyways, there it is. It's not the best drawing, but it's a reptilian, and it's a freehand drawing on the fly. And, you know, I hope you like it. I don't know about these things, if they have ears or if they have some sort of, you know, probably don't. They probably have some sort of a, you know, pointy kind of thing. Same thing on this side, probably. I'll just fake one in there like that. And then we'll take this marker again and we'll just kind of come in. Yeah. Yeah. Probably something like that. Anyways, there it is. Pretty rough, but you get the idea. Just going to add a couple of finishing touches on here, as I said. Of course, I don't know what these things look like. I'm getting ink all over the place, as I said before. You know, a lot of times when you're doing these scales, you can just kind of block them in and then shade over them, and they just look like, you know, it's just the idea is to insinuate that they're there, that they're a scale. It's hard to get them unless you have lots of time. I'm doing this freehand, but unless you have lots of time to get them in there, the symmetry of them is the hardest part, you know, is getting the symmetry of them. But put a few finishing touches on here just so. Yeah, there you go. Almost as if there's just a little bit of a lip there. I'm going to guess that these creatures don't have much of a lip.
you know. But anyways, there it is. Reptilian, at least one version. I'm sure it's reminiscent of probably stuff you've seen on the internet. I know it. I've seen one like it on the internet. In fact, it's probably one very similar to the one I'm drawing. Not the best drawing, but it's freehand, and there you go. So listen, we'll talk to you guys soon, all right? And next time, maybe we'll work on a different being. You know, send me your thoughts. Maybe I'll draw one of you guys' ideas. All right? Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.